Hello techies, welcome to the day 12 of my 100 days coding challenge. And in this challenge I'm talking about the do while loop. First, last time we talked about the for loop where we discussed about the initialization, test and update block. So I'm just going to comment this out and I'm going to write the do while loop here as a comment. Just as the if else statement is the basic conditional in JavaScript, that is how the while loop statement is also JavaScript basic loop. The while loop will work just like the for loop. The only difference I say is the syntax arrangement. So I'll just write this while loop and do while loop. The syntax for the while loop is similar to that of the if and else statement. All you have to do is just write the while, the parentheses that will contain the expression. So in while loop, the parentheses contain the expression, which is the condition. You can only write a condition in there. Then the braces, curly brackets, where you put your statement. In while loop, the statement always comes before the increment. The initializer always comes before the syntax. That's the initializer before the condition. So if you check them, you check the syntax is just similar to the for loop and the if else statement. So I'm just going to comment this. Then we're going to do a countdown, just do what we did with the for loop. So we're going to do a countdown from 0 to 10 or 0 to 9. So the first thing we do is to write the while, type while, then the condition. We're going to say if count is lesser than 10, then the statement will come next. We're going to console.log count before the increment value. So I'm just going to say console.log the parentheses and the put count. Then we just simply put the increment value count plus plus. We forgot to initialize. I'm just going to go to the top to initialize it and say let count equal to 0. So our index is going to start from 0. So I just declare a variable, call it count, then give it a value of 0. So this is how you initialize in using while loop. So you see that in our console we have 0 to 9. Another syntax that we are going to look at is the do while loop. It's pretty simple. You just cut this while part and then you put the keyword do, then you place the while part at the bottom, and this is it. So if we go to our console, it will work just as expected. You can see 0 to 9 just as the while loop, but this is where the problem will start from. Let's take this count up and you see that it will first add +1 before it gives you the loop or before it runs any loop. You see it starts from 1. So 1 was added to 0 before the statement, then it checked the condition. So this is do while loop. So let's take this down again. So it will first do, that is run the code before it checks the condition. So then what happens if we change the count to 20, the value, we change it to 20. So you see that the loop will first run. Of course, we both know that this is a false statement. Count is not lesser than 10, count is 20. So what happens here is that the loop will first run before it gets to the condition. So that's why it's called do while loop. It will first do before it checks the condition, that is do then while. Before it sees the condition, it will first run for the first time. And this is all about the do while loop. It is not commonly used, but it is important that we know what the do while loop is all about. See you all in my next challenge. Bye.